For nearly 2 decades, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban were seen as one of Hollywood's strongest power couples, calm, supportive, and seemingly unbreakable. That's why when news of their split surfaced, it sent shockwaves through fans and insiders alike. No messy public fights, no explosive statements, just a quiet separation that instantly raised one unsettling question. What really happened behind closed doors? Nicole recently admitted she's hanging in there, a phrase that sounds composed on the surface but hints at something far deeper beneath. Because when a marriage lasts 19 years, it doesn't simply end. It unravels, slowly and emotionally. What made this situation even more intriguing was what followed next. Instead of bitterness or public tension, reports began circulating that Keith's attitude had unexpectedly changed. Sources claim the country star may be feeling regret, and that subtle shift has reportedly begun to affect Nicole in ways no one anticipated. Friends close to her are now watching closely, concerned that old emotions could resurface just when she's finally learning to put herself first. At the center of it all are their teen daughters, whose presence makes every decision heavier, more emotional, and impossible to ignore. Holiday plans, simple compromises, even small gestures suddenly carry meaning far beyond what they appear. Nicole has spent years shaping her life around someone else's needs, often sacrificing her own comfort to keep the peace. Now, for the first time in a long while, she's standing on her own, independent, reflective, and cautious. But the human heart doesn't always follow logic. When someone from your past shows softness, restraint, or regret, it can reopen doors you thought were firmly closed. That's exactly why her inner circle is urging her to slow down, warning her not to let nostalgia rewrite history. Are Keith's recent actions a genuine sign of change, or simply too little, too late? And more importantly, will Nicole allow softened feelings to influence her future, or will she protect the independence she's worked so hard to reclaim? As rumors swirl and speculation grows louder, one thing is clear: this story is no longer just about a breakup. It's about emotional boundaries, personal growth, and the dangerous comfort of familiarity. Because sometimes the hardest choice isn't leaving, it's deciding whether to ever look back. And what happens next may surprise everyone watching. The world was stunned when news broke that Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban, one of Hollywood's most seemingly perfect couples, had called it quits. After 19 years of marriage, fans who had long admired their chemistry and support for one another could hardly believe it. For decades, the two had navigated the pressures of fame, raising a family while maintaining a polished public image, and yet even that was no guarantee against private heartbreak. The announcement came in September, catching the public and media off guard, and instantly sparked speculation about what could have driven such a split after nearly 2 decades together. Was it the strains of a demanding career, differences that grew too wide to bridge, or something more personal, something fans wouldn't see beyond the glossy headlines? Nicole, known for her poise and ability to maintain grace under scrutiny, publicly stated that she was hanging in there, projecting strength and resilience. But sources close to the couple suggested that behind the composed exterior, emotions were far more complicated. Despite the shock, Nicole's focus seemed firmly on maintaining stability for their family, especially their teen daughters, who now found themselves navigating their own feelings in the wake of the separation. The split was not just the end of a marriage. It was a seismic shift in a life carefully built over decades, with routines, memories, and family traditions suddenly upended. The media quickly picked up on every possible detail, analyzing photos, past interviews, and even subtle interactions on social media to paint a narrative of the breakup. Fans speculated endlessly, dissecting every public appearance for hints of tension or reconciliation. Amid all the scrutiny, Nicole maintained a careful distance from gossip, choosing to focus on her children and her own personal growth. Yet, even as the public tried to piece together the story, insiders hinted that the breakup was far from simple. Relationships of this magnitude rarely end cleanly, and emotions linger long after the headlines fade. There were whispers that Keith, despite the initial separation, may have felt regret, and that Nicole's feelings, while hurt and cautious, were evolving in response. But the uncertainty, the unanswered questions, and the human vulnerability behind the celebrity personas created a tension that would keep everyone watching. The split, shocking as it was, set the stage for a story about love, growth, and the unexpected turns that even the most high-profile relationships can take. And as the weeks passed, what happened next would prove even more surprising than anyone could have imagined. In the weeks following the split, sources revealed that Keith Urban's behavior behavior had taken an unexpected turn, leaving both fans and insiders surprised. Known for his charm and sometimes stubborn streak, the country music superstar had historically been a forceful personality in both his career and personal life. Yet, recent reports suggest that he's done a complete 180, showing gestures that hinted at a softer, more conciliatory side. One particular instance caught the attention of those close to the former couple. Nicole decided to take their teen daughters to Australia for Christmas, a plan that had originally been set for Nashville. In many situations, such a change could have sparked tension, negotiations, or even disputes over holiday traditions. But according to insiders, Keith didn't push back. He simply allowed the change to happen, quietly accepting Nicole's decision. On the surface, it might seem like a small act, just a logistical adjustment during the holidays. But for a couple whose dynamics were once so carefully negotiated, this shift spoke volumes. It suggested a willingness to let go of control and to respect Nicole's choices in a way that hadn't always been evident during their marriage. Friends close to Nicole noticed the subtlety of the change, and they were quick to speculate on its emotional impact. Some wondered if Keith was feeling regret about the timing of the split, or if he was simply adjusting to a new phase of co-parenting with Grace. Whatever the motivation, the change was undeniable, and it began to have a tangible effect on Nicole. Where she had once faced resistance, pushback, or negotiation, she now encountered ease and cooperation. The contrast was stark, almost shocking, for someone who had spent nearly 2 decades navigating compromises and sacrifices in the marriage. Observers noted that these small, thoughtful gestures, from adjusting holiday plans to showing consideration for Nicole's choices, seemed to soften the tension that had built up over the years. And yet, there was a layer of complexity that made the situation far from straightforward. Nicole's friends were cautiously optimistic but wary, knowing the power of nostalgia and the human tendency to revert to old patterns when emotions resurface. They worried that this unexpected change in Keith's demeanor might create confusion or emotional vulnerability, and they urged Nicole to proceed carefully. Still, for the first time since the split, the dynamic between the two exes felt different. It wasn't just a routine adjustment. It was a glimpse into what could be a more thoughtful, reflective side of Keith Urban, one that could stir feelings Nicole hadn't experienced in months. And while nothing was decided, one thing was clear. The holiday season would reveal more than just family plans. It would uncover hidden emotions, unspoken regrets, and the delicate balance of letting go while still holding on to what matters most. As the days passed and Keith's unexpected gestures continued, those close to Nicole began noticing subtle changes in her demeanor. The woman who had been fiercely independent since the split was showing signs of emotional thaw, a softening of the feelings she had kept tightly controlled for months. It wasn't sudden or dramatic, but small shifts revealed that Keith's recent behavior had touched her in ways she hadn't anticipated. Friends described Nicole as reflective, occasionally pausing in conversation, almost lost in thought, as if weighing memories against her present reality. During their marriage, Nicole had spent countless years adjusting, compromising, and sometimes bending herself to accommodate Keith's needs and desires. She had sacrificed personal comfort, preferences, and at times even her own voice, all in the name of preserving the family and the relationship. Now, after the split, she was finally free to prioritize herself. Yet the human heart has a way of revisiting old attachments, especially when they appear softened by regret or unexpected kindness. The source close to the family explained that Keith's willingness to step back, allow Nicole to make choices for the holidays, and demonstrate respect for her autonomy had created a space for nostalgia to creep in. Memories of laughter, shared milestones, and the quiet moments that had once made their partnership feel unbreakable seemed to surface, tugging gently at her emotions. But Nicole's friends were vigilant, understanding the delicate balance between allowing natural feelings to emerge and being blindsided by old patterns of compromise that had once left her feeling trapped. They reminded her not to let fleeting gestures cloud her judgment, emphasizing that emotional softness doesn't automatically equate to reconciliation. The internal struggle was palpable. Nicole wanted to embrace her freedom, celebrate her independence, and reclaim parts of herself that had been set aside for years, yet she couldn't completely ignore the lingering warmth that Keith's recent actions had stirred. The tension was almost cinematic, a mix of reflection, cautious hope, and the realization that long-term relationships leave indelible marks on the heart. As insiders watched, they noted that Nicole's softened feelings didn't mean decisions were imminent. Rather, they indicated that the emotional landscape was shifting, becoming more complex and layered. Every interaction with Keith carried weight, and even minor acts of consideration had the power to stir emotions Nicole thought she had neatly packed away. The subtle interplay of regret, reflection, and tentative connection created an atmosphere of suspense, leaving friends, family, and fans alike wondering which way Nicole's heart would lean. And while she remained committed to putting herself first, the story of her softened feelings reminded everyone that healing, even after a long and complicated marriage, is rarely linear, and sometimes the smallest gestures reveal the biggest truths. While Nicole's feelings toward Keith were beginning to soften, those closest to her were growing increasingly concerned. Friends and confidants noticed the subtle emotional shifts and worried that nostalgia could cloud her judgment. Over the course of their 19-year marriage, Nicole had often put her own needs and desires on hold to maintain harmony with Keith. She had tied herself into knots, bending over backward to make him happy, sometimes at the cost of her own well-being. Now, suddenly confronted with Keith's softer, more accommodating behavior, her friends feared she might unconsciously revert to old patterns, sacrificing herself yet again for the sake of a relationship that had already ended. They watched cautiously as Nicole navigated this new chapter, offering gentle reminders that compassion for an ex doesn't have to translate into compromising one's own life. Their advice was firm but caring. Don't let fleeting gestures or nostalgic feelings blur the reality of what had occurred. Nicole, aware of her friends' concerns, was walking a fine line between appreciating Keith's efforts and maintaining her independence. Each small act, allowing the daughters to spend Christmas in Australia, displaying patience or understanding, seemed innocent enough, yet in the context of years of ingrained habits, even minor concessions could carry emotional weight. The friends' worries weren't rooted in skepticism about Keith's intentions. Rather, they recognized the pattern of emotional sacrifice Nicole had followed in the past. They didn't want her to fall back into a cycle where her needs became secondary, where her identity as a strong, independent woman could again be overshadowed by the weight of nostalgia. This wasn't about preventing reconciliation or discouraging kindness. It was about ensuring that Nicole's choices remained hers alone, not influenced by residual attachments or a longing for what once was. Friends encouraged her to take time, to evaluate her feelings carefully, and to reflect on the growth she had achieved since the split. They reminded her that empathy and care are admirable, but they should never come at the cost of self-preservation. As Nicole considered these warnings, the emotional landscape remained complex, a delicate mix of softened feelings, genuine concern from loved ones, and the lingering pull of nearly 2 decades spent entwined with another person. Her journey became a lesson in balance, recognizing the humanity and potential regret in her ex while steadfastly protecting the hard-earned freedom she had fought to claim. Every interaction, every gesture was now measured against the backdrop of this caution, shaping how Nicole would respond, grow, and ultimately move forward. In the months following her split from Keith Urban, Nicole Kidman has been on a journey of rediscovery, one that blends reflection, resilience, and self-prioritization. For nearly 2 decades, her life had been deeply intertwined with her ex-husband's career, choices, and rhythm. She often put her own desires second, bending herself to maintain the relationship and keep the family unit intact. But with the marriage behind her, Nicole has stepped into a phase of life defined by autonomy and empowerment. Friends and insiders note a marked shift in her daily routines, her mindset, and even her interactions with others. She's carving out time for personal passions, reconnecting with friends, and embracing opportunities that were once sidelined by the demands of marriage. Beyond the public appearances and Hollywood glamour, Nicole is focusing on the emotional and spiritual side of growth, reflecting on what she truly values and setting boundaries that reinforce her independence. This period isn't just about moving on from Keith. It's about understanding herself on a deeper level, acknowledging past compromises, and ensuring that history doesn't repeat itself. Yet, personal growth doesn't mean emotional detachment. The recent gestures from Keith, allowing holiday plans to shift, showing subtle signs of consideration, have stirred complicated feelings, and Nicole is navigating these with caution. She's learning that acknowledging emotions doesn't mean surrendering control. It's about observing, processing, and responding from a place of strength. Her friends describe her as more introspective, yet confident, aware that kindness and understanding toward an ex can coexist with personal empowerment. The contrast is striking. Nicole once defined much of her life through the lens of marriage, and now she's rediscovering her identity as an individual, independent of any relationship. Each choice she makes, from travel plans to career decisions to family dynamics, is filtered through a mindset that prioritizes her needs while still honoring the connections she holds dear. This balance is delicate, requiring patience, honesty, and courage. And while Keith's potential regret and subtle gestures could tempt her toward revisiting old patterns, Nicole seems determined to chart a path that is fully hers, unclouded by nostalgia or obligation. Observers note that this period of personal growth is not only empowering but inspiring, offering a glimpse into the resilience and self-awareness that comes from decades of experience and emotional maturity. Nicole's journey reminds everyone watching that freedom after a long-term relationship isn't just about separation. It's about reclaiming identity, embracing personal power, and discovering the strength to move forward while honoring both past and present. Amid the emotional complexities of her split from Keith Urban, Nicole Kidman's focus has consistently remained on her teen daughters. For Nicole, the balance between personal growth and co-parenting has been a delicate, often challenging endeavor. Raising teens under the spotlight of Hollywood is never easy, but now, with the added layer of separation, every decision carries heightened weight. Holiday plans, travel arrangements, and daily routines aren't just logistical concerns. They're opportunities to ensure her daughters feel secure, loved, and prioritized, even as their parents navigate their own emotional landscapes. Nicole's decision to take the girls to Australia for Christmas instead of Nashville was more than a simple change of scenery. It represented her desire to create joyful, stable memories for her children, to offer them comfort and normalcy in a period of transition. Keith's response to this plan, allowing it to happen without protest, was telling. It indicated a willingness to respect her choices as a parent and demonstrated that co-parenting doesn't have to be a battleground. Friends close to Nicole observed that this dynamic, where both parents showed consideration for the teens, helped soften tensions and fostered an atmosphere of cooperation. At the same time, these moments highlighted the emotional tightrope Nicole walks, ensuring her daughter's well-being while protecting her own independence. The teen daughters, too, are central to the evolving relationship between Nicole and Keith. Their feelings, opinions, and comfort often shape how decisions are made, creating a subtle but powerful influence on both parents. It's a reminder that even in high-profile separations, family dynamics remain the core of decision-making. Nicole's ability to prioritize her children while asserting her own needs reflects a maturation in her approach to relationships and parenting. She's learning to embrace flexibility without sacrificing boundaries, demonstrating that strength doesn't mean rigidity. Each holiday plan, each moment of compromise, and each decision made in consideration of her daughters is a step toward building a new normal, one that honors both her children's happiness and her personal growth. And while Keith's gestures may stir old emotions, the presence of their teen daughters ensures that every interaction is measured, thoughtful, and grounded in shared responsibility. This focus on family adds depth to the unfolding story, showing that behind the headlines and speculation, real people, especially children, are at the heart of every choice and every emotional shift. As Nicole navigates this terrain, the teen's needs continue to influence her decisions, ensuring that even amid personal softening and nostalgia, the family's well-being remains a guiding priority. As Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban navigate the aftermath of their split, the public can't help but speculate about what might happen next. Rumors have been circulating for months, fueled by subtle gestures, social media posts, and insider whispers. Fans and entertainment outlets alike are trying to decode every interaction, asking, is Keith truly feeling regret? Could Nicole be considering reconciliation? Or is she simply responding to kindness without revisiting the past? While none of these claims have been confirmed, the speculation alone adds tension to an already emotionally charged story. Insider sources hint that Keith's recent behavior, from allowing the daughters to spend Christmas in Australia to showing subtle consideration for Nicole's choices, has left both friends and observers questioning his intentions. Some suggest that he may be attempting to rebuild bridges, while others caution that these small acts might simply be a reflection of mutual respect and co-parenting maturity. For Nicole, the presence of these rumors creates a complicated emotional landscape. She must navigate her softened feelings, her desire for personal growth, and the external noise of speculation that surrounds every move she makes. Friends and confidants continue to advise caution, reminding her that appearances can be deceiving, and that even well-intentioned gestures don't always signal what the public hopes to see. Yet, it's impossible to ignore the intrigue that surrounds their interactions. Every appearance together, every coordinated holiday plan, and every public statement is dissected for hidden meaning. The media frenzy is relentless, and fans are invested in what feels like an unfolding drama of Hollywood proportions. At the same time, Nicole is managing these rumors with characteristic composure, showing that she's not easily swayed by outside voices. She is weighing her emotions, considering the past, and carefully evaluating any potential path forward. The speculation, while tantalizing to the public, underscores the very human complexity of her situation, balancing lingering feelings, personal empowerment, and the welfare of her teen daughters. It's a reminder that even in celebrity life, relationships are rarely black and and white, and the truth often lies somewhere between reported headlines and private realities. As observers watch closely, one thing is clear: the story of Nicole and Keith is far from over. Whether their paths remain separate or intersect again, the emotional, family, and personal stakes make this a tale that captivates audiences, leaving everyone eager to see the next chapter. And while speculation will continue to swirl, Nicole's journey of reflection, growth, and measured response ensures that whatever happens next will be guided by thoughtfulness rather than impulse, a testament to her resilience and evolving perspective. As the story of Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban continues to unfold, it's clear that their journey is far from simple. What began as a shocking split after 19 years of marriage has evolved into a complex narrative of reflection, personal growth, and emotional recalibration. Nicole, once deeply entwined in her husband's world, has emerged as a figure of resilience, navigating the delicate balance between softened feelings and steadfast independence. Keith's subtle gestures, whether motivated by regret, respect, or a desire to maintain harmony for their daughters, have introduced new emotional layers that complicate what was once a clear-cut separation. For Nicole, this is a pivotal moment. She has the opportunity to honor her own needs, embrace her personal growth, and assert her independence, all while managing the nuanced dynamics of co-parenting and public scrutiny. The presence of their teen daughters adds another dimension to the story, grounding every decision in responsibility, love, and consideration. Nicole's choices now are influenced not only by her own heart, but by the well-being of the children she's raising, ensuring that even amidst personal nostalgia or emotional softening, her priorities remain clear and deliberate. Friends and confidants continue to play a critical role, offering guidance, cautioning against letting old patterns resurface, and supporting Nicole as she navigates the intersection of emotion, family, and personal empowerment. At the same time, speculation and rumors swirl endlessly, fueled by the public's fascination with Hollywood relationships. While outsiders try to decode gestures and predict outcomes, the reality is that Nicole's journey is profoundly human, full of reflection, tentative emotions, and the careful weighing of what matters most. The story reminds us that even in the glare of fame, love, regret, and personal growth are never simple. It's a narrative of complexity, where small acts carry weight, where the past can influence the present, and where personal freedom and emotional vulnerability coexist. For fans and observers, it's a captivating saga, offering a rare glimpse into the private emotional world behind a public life. And for Nicole, it's a testament to her strength and evolution, a reminder that even after nearly 2 decades of marriage, she has the courage to redefine herself, embrace her autonomy, and make choices that honor both her heart and her personal journey. Whether the path ahead involves renewed connection, continued independence, or simply the quiet satisfaction of self-discovery, one thing remains certain: Nicole Kidman's story is far from finished, and the lessons of love, reflection, and resilience will continue to unfold, leaving everyone watching inspired, curious, and emotionally invested in every next step.